solid
Yeah. So let me just
argument.
explain what gravity is, and it's very easy, scientifically provable. So we live in this electrical system. The moon is the anode, the sun is the cathode, and the water, the salt water carries the current, and the land is the salt bridge. It's a battery. And the earth has a negative charge to it, scientifically testably provable negative charge, period. There is a negative charge to the earth. It's a weak negative charge, but it's there, it's everywhere across the plane. When you leave the surface of the earth, you have a positive charge. Okay, the firmament above us has a positive charge, and there's voltage in the air, testable, provable. Tesla, you had free energy, and they pulled energy right out of the ether. But when you're in the air, you have a positive charge to you, and that negative charge attracts it. It's just a weak downward force. Down is down for me, down is down for someone in Australia. Down is not up, down is down, up is up. Left and right, forward and backwards are relative to whatever direction you're facing, but down is down, up is up. So everything knows where down is. It's a weak force, just like they say gravity is a weak force. Gravity is a theory, according to mainstream science. They don't know how it works, and they have to make up dark matter and dark energy to fill in 90+% of it, because it doesn't work without it. So if I had a handful of ping pong balls and marbles and I dropped them over a swimming pool, they'd fall through the air because of that downward attraction, and they're more dense than the air. And then the ping pong balls would sit on top of the water, and the marbles would go to the bottom of the water because of buoyancy and density. That's it.
But
Okay.
but what determines which direction it goes? Because
Because the
if
earth,
the ball is denser than the air,
yeah.
yeah, it would fall. But which direction?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's
So because
yeah,
the earth doesn't move, the earth has a negative charge to it. Okay. The earth has a negative charge, which attracts things to it. So it attracts things down. The earth's negative charge will attract things. So here's a tinfoil triangle. We put a negative charge in it, and it goes up because it's stronger than the earth's negative charge. Okay. It's not defying gravity, it's just defying electromagnetism, right?
yeah.
We can take a metal plate, and we can hold it, we can put it over the earth and use a Van der Graaf generator, and it will, anything that we put underneath it will go up into it as soon as that negative charge becomes stronger than the earth's negative charge, right? It's kind of hard to see here. So we got a Van der Graaf generator right here. It's hooked up to this metal plate, and um, we'll zoom in, and things underneath it, we have metal filings, we have wood chips, we have pieces of paper. They all go up as soon as that negative charge gets stronger than the earth's negative charge. So I'm not defying gravity, I'm just defying the negative charge of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, gravity is a weak force, so you can easily overcome it.
Overcome it with what? With more gravity or with a negative charge? Why is this a negative charge? How does gravity hold trillions of pounds of oceans, trillions of tons of ocean, and upside down cruise ships on the bottom side of a ball, but I could jump and walk, and a bird can fly, and a butterfly can fly? None of that makes any sense when you think about it. It's just, they admit that gravity is a theory. Do you know about the three body problem? Let me teach you. They don't teach you
No.
this in school. So the sun is a ball of gas in a vacuum. Impossible, but let's just assume it exists. And it has those gravity, and it's holding on to the earth, and the earth is going around the sun perfectly, right? The earth, its gravity isn't as strong as the sun, but it's able to hold on to the moon, and the moon is going around the earth. Okay. Why,
Yeah.
when the moon gets in between the sun and the earth, does the sun's gravity not yank the moon away, or at least tug it a little bit? The sun is holding on to other planets that are farther and farther and farther away. They're all falling around it, but somehow those planets' gravity are holding on to their own moons, and the sun's gravity also ignores those moons. And then when we had that planetary alignment last year in December, all the planets were lined up. How come all of that gravity didn't tug on other things' gravity? So here's the three body problem. You can take the world's best supercomputer and create a program and put all right, I got a sun ball, it's this big, it's got this much gravity, and I've got a planet ball, and it's smaller, it's got this much gravity, and you put it in orbit, and the computer will predict where it's going to be for the next 1,000 years. Doesn't matter. It works perfectly like a perfect timepiece. Okay. Then you add one more body, a moon or another planet, into that system, and the entire system falls apart. The computer can't figure out what's going to happen next, and it never repeats itself. But in our solar system alone, there's 60 or 80 objects, moons and planets, and they work like a perfect clock. Eclipses repeat every 18 years. The stars reset every year. Nothing ever tugs on something else. So what does the sun have? Magical planet gravity, and the planets have magical moon gravity. Can you explain that?
I'm not a scientist, but I believe why if all the planets in the solar system were like stationary and not were rotating, yes, the sun would pull them in and destroy them. But because they're moving around, and yeah, it is at relative slow speed. It is enough to have the Earth has a better grip on the moon than the sun has, because it's moving around the Earth, and the Earth is moving around.
How come a supercomputer can't model that? Because it's nonsense. Listen, that isn't just sit down and think about what you're talking about there. That is indoctrinated, unprovable pseudoscience nonsense. Nonsense, you're saying. It's nonsense.
Are you sure?
Because if that was true, they would be able to model it, but they can't, right? And the gravity of the sun holding onto the Earth, it's also holding on to Pluto, which is way out there, and Saturn, which is way out there, but it doesn't affect the moon. Come on, man. This is what you've been indoctrinated to believe. Pseudoscience nonsense, unprovable, unverifiable nonsense. That's your belief of the globe. Here's the problem, man. You got some thinking to do. This world is not what they told you it is. And it's a good thing, because you are a more powerful being than you've been led to believe. So,
I mean, if one day it turns out the Earth is flat, I give you 1 Bitcoin.
I don't want your Bitcoin. The Earth is flat. Trust me. You don't have a Bitcoin to give me. The Earth is flat. Well, good. Do you have another reason? Do you use the Aristophanes argument at all?
It's actually been a really long time since I've actually.
Aristophanes, the guy with sticks in the shadows, and the Greek
philosopher.
Of course,
yeah. You could repeat it.
That doesn't prove anything. Here's Aristophanes, no shadow. He's got a shadow. He did some math, very good math. The math is accurate, and he predicted the size of the so-called Earth within 2%.
Exactly.
Carl Sagan pushed that out. Everything in Cosmos, and it's been pushed in every textbook. But the funny thing is, he's a super famous philosopher, mathematician, and he didn't show up in any books until the late 1900s. Fascinating, right? The oldest book we can find is in the late 1900s. But it doesn't matter anyway, because here it is on a flat Earth. No shadow, small local sun, same thing, use the same math, which is great math, and it'll tell you the sphericity of this flat surface. We don't live on a math equation. You can't assume that sunlight comes in parallel when you've never seen sunlight come in parallel. No one's ever seen it come in parallel. But we're told it's parallel because the sun is so far away. No one's ever seen it. Pseudoscience nonsense.
But okay, I have just one final question. So if you're saying it's a small local sun, right, on a plane here, yeah. If we were to observe the sun, wouldn't the sun like become bigger and smaller when it moves away from us?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we clearly don't see it when.
Because that's a very good question. And in my app, you could say, where does the sun go? And it shows you. But depending on where you are, here's a high plains in in Africa, super clear, super dry day. The sun stops going down. It went over and then it stops. This is sped up with super fast and it just goes away. It's not going down, it's going away and it's shrinking because it's going away. So um here's a shot that I did and oh no, not that one. Where is it? It's where is it? Here we go. So I put a drone up on a super clear day and the drone's filming the sun. And in 5 minutes time, it went from up here, it went down, down, down. And if the earth was spinning, it would just keep on going. Right. But it didn't.
Yeah, I saw the clip. Yeah.
In 5 minutes time, it went to here and then it stopped and it just sat there. And then it just faded away. It just went and it couldn't push through the atmosphere. I'm like, so, okay, how does that work? And the way it works is we see within what we call a personal atmospheric dome. So here's a glass dome, and I got a light that's just going across it. And so inside the dome, we see this perfectly round sun. It's rising, it's setting, and then it gets down to the bottom of the dome and it doesn't go below it. It just stops and it sits there and it fades out. We can recreate the same things that we see with experiments here. And that's how we see. And it just stops and it fades out. That's it. Because of the way we see in this personal atmospheric dome, and because the sun is far away, we don't notice much of a size. But the problem is looking at the sun is very difficult. And if you use a solar filter, it cuts out the very most important part. When the sun gets down low, because it's moving far away, it gets weaker, and a solar filter, you can't see the last part. That's the most important part. That's why they're always screaming, use a solar filter, right? Because when it gets farther away, when the part where it stops going down, a solar filter just blocks it out and you can't see it. This is over Bulgaria. The sun is just clearly going away. It just goes away. But when you're watching it over, over water where there's clouds and stuff, the sun looks like it's going down. But these are clouds that I put these in here, and the sun it looks like it's setting here. Now it looks like it's setting here, but this one's merged with the horizon, and it just goes beyond it. Okay. And there's plenty of them where we actually measure the sun and it does get smaller. Sometimes it gets bigger. Sometimes it gets smaller. It has to do with the atmospheric magnification. It has to work with the way your eyes work. When you see the moon rise and it's gigantic, right? You see a gigantic full moon rise, right? Turn around, spread your legs, bend over, look at the moon through your legs backwards, upside down, and it won't be big anymore. It's how your mind works, and that disconnects it, making it look big. That sounds crazy. Try it.
Okay? I'll try it.
Yeah, try it. It's all about perspective and the way we see. Again, in the app underneath the "Where does the sun go?" or sunsets, there's tons of videos that show you and explain what you're actually seeing. Crazy.
Okay. Okay. One more thing.
Sure.
So if the world order is trying to suppress us and say the real world is a globe when it's really flat, and all people who work in government, in astronomy, biology, math, and so on and so forth, that would make quite a lot of people, like millions.
They're not all in on it.
If not of.
They're not all in on it. People that work in biology, no, I mean, I don't know why you mentioned all those things. All pilots, they're not in on it. Lots of them know. All the Qantas pilots talk about it openly in their lounges, but they can't talk about it publicly because they don't want to lose their jobs, right? Scientists, lots of them don't know, but what scientists? How many scientists are there? We know Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, the lion guy with the bow tie, and then Brian Cox, who we call Lying Box, they just put out pseudoscience and straw man arguments and nonsense. They're like, hey, if the earth was flat, an eclipse would look like this, right? That's not what anybody believes, right? Eclipses are a completely different explanation of what they're telling us. You know, a lunar eclipse is not caused by the shadow of the earth. And we can prove that, right? But these people aren't in on it, but there's plenty of people that know now, and there more and more of them are coming out, bigger and bigger people. There's many big celebrities that know, but they don't want to lose their careers, right? But they're talking to us on the sides. They're like, keep going, keep pushing, because they want this to come out. And at one point, it's going to get big enough where some big people will step out, and there will be a huge flip. And I think they're trying to stop that. They're literally trying to shut us down before this gets out, because if this gets out, their reign of power is gone, and they don't want that. They've had it for hundreds of years.
Okay, well, fair enough. Thank you so much, David. It was really, really useful.
All right,
Um,
man.
you have it will be a really great paper. Thank you so much. I will just stop the recording.